In this video, I'm gonna go over the biggest mistake that I see when hiring remote talent. My name is Benjamin Morone, a little bit of a background with me. I run VA Tasks. We've placed for 20 plus executive assistants and remote talent globally. So you need to follow these 5 steps to effectively find the right talent and then train them as well. We're gonna go over what's causing the headache, grouping the tasks, establishing effective procedures, building a job description, looking for talent, and actually doing the onboarding. Now pay attention to the order. Sometimes people have these out of order and they get wildly different results. A lot of times what I see with CEOs or solo founders, what they do is they know they need help. They want an executive assistant, maybe a VA to do some lower level tasks. They know they have a bunch going on, but they don't actually have procedures behind it. So what they do is they hit up Upwork or Fiverr or wherever and ask their friends, hey, maybe I want a VA or maybe you could source a VA for me. They bring on someone on board to take care of all these busy tasks, but there's no structure. And so really it just becomes a headache. They have to train them and they're like, this is a pain. And they don't actually get that desired result and they don't get to experience what an executive assistant or remote talent does for them as a solo founder. So by following this order, you will find success with hiring remote talent. You're gonna bring on someone who has structure and can get you the results that you want and you deserve as a solo founder. So first step is identifying what is causing this headache. What do you not like doing? That's the easiest place to start. What do you not like doing during your day at work or when you're running your business? What are you not good at and what is not making you money? Unfortunately, we're not perfect. We're not good at every single thing. There's gonna be some things that we don't like doing. There's gonna be some things we still struggle with, even though we do them each day. It's best to outsource these types of activities. The other side is activities that don't make you money. If it's not directly tied to your income, but you still have to do it, it becomes a chore. So why don't you outsource these chores to someone globally? You should be able to list at least 3 tasks underneath each one of these sections. If you can't do this, then do a time audit. Time audit is over 24, 48 hours where you write down each thing that you're doing inside of your business. This allows you to identify what tasks are slowing you down as a solo founder. So I'm gonna go over the Pareto principle a little bit here. This really applies to entrepreneurship and being a solo founder as a whole and hiring. So 80% of the results are gonna come from 20% of the actions that you're taking. So you're doing a lot of tasks each day. Only 20% of these actually move the needle forward. Only 20% are actually making you money at a high level. The rest 80% can really be reduced and removed with executive assistants or remote talent. Now, once you've identified what's causing this headache, you want to move into grouping tasks. This is going to give us a little bit of structure and figure out who do we need to bring on, what types of skills do they need, and what types of softwares do they need to be able to help us out and get our desired result. So one of the first steps we can take is grouping it by software or tools. Maybe they need access to G Suite, maybe they need access to Outlook or be familiar with ClickUp, OneDrive, anything along those lines. We want to group the tasks that involve certain software stacks. Then by skill level. We all know there's copy paste stuff, there's data entry that we do each day that we shouldn't be doing. So we want to group by skill level. Copy paste, some of these other ones might need a little bit higher expertise. You may need someone who can go in there and creatively think and do some copywriting for you. Obviously that's not the same as copy pasting in an Excel document. Next, we're going to group by hours. So some tasks can be done within 2 hours each day. Some are repeated where it might be a research task. This needs to be done every single day to fill up a spreadsheet. It's awesome to always have some sort of task for your executive assistant or the remote talent to constantly be doing. And there's other tasks that may not be done every day, but they're a once a month or they're a one-off task. You can't just build a role based off a bunch of one-off random tasks. You need something that brings structure that they can continually do. Or what's gonna happen is they're gonna go through your 4 tasks that you've outsourced to them in the first week and then be sitting there like, oh, what's my next step? What do I do? And they'll constantly be hitting you up for more tasks. And this pulls you away from doing the high leverage activities. And you're gonna feel a lot of stress with the new executive assistant because you're like, oh, I need to delegate things to them. I didn't know that. I don't know how to do this. And you're gonna be constantly kind of behind the gun or behind the 8 ball here when needing to delegate because you have to sit down and think, what do I delegate next? And this is something that you don't want to be in. So after we're done with the grouping of the tasks and the identification of the tasks, we want to move into establishing effective procedures. This is probably the most important step in this whole process. We've identified the tasks and now we want to record a procedure. We're gonna create a video, a Loom video, that's gonna give us a step-by-step walkthrough to be able to build instructions off. So let's say I'm doing some sort of data entry task, or I'm updating like a CRM. I record a Loom of myself talking over it, going through. This Loom's probably a little bit rough, needs to be edited. It won't be the final Loom that will be in a standard operating procedure for someone to watch as the final product, but it allows us to build the standard operating procedure. So we don't have to sit down and go through the steps one by one. We can just pause the video, we can come back to it, we can go do something else, come back and be able to keep building that standard operating procedure. Now, I'm linking in an SOP template. Our clients have used this over 200 times, this exact SOP template. I'm gonna go into it. The SOP is a standard operating procedure. It's basically like the blueprint on how to do a certain task or series of tasks. So the purpose, why are they doing this? The Loom video, context, terminologies they may not be familiar with, tools they need access to, like HubSpot or ClickUp, roles and responsibilities, who's actually going to be doing the task, and then the procedure. So step-by-step written instructions, step-by-step visual instructions. This is linked inside of this document that will be in the description below. I also like to enable end-of-day reporting. So I've built standard operating procedure, and then now what I'm going to do is do end-of-day reports. So this is tracking the task being done. We're building certain KPIs so we can figure out, okay, is our executive assistant or new hire actually doing the task? What are these points that are important to us to measure? I have an end of day report here that you'll also get access to. So this one's for like social media, super basic. You can copy this. Social media posts, clients made for, posts awaiting approval, hours worked on tasks. This is super basic. This is how you can start tracking for your executive assistant or your remote talent. This is how you can track what they're doing and the hours spent on each task. I like using a tool called Clockify. And basically you can do like screen recording, screenshots, but it also is a time tracking software. So I like all the VAs and the executive assistants to track their time inside of that. It makes cool graphs so I can see productivity and how everything is going. Now, after we have built the structure, after we've built these procedures, we then go into building the job description, looking for talent. Notice we build the procedures first, then move into the job description. We don't want to just build a job description because we've identified a couple tasks that we can outsource, because the person that you're hiring isn't going to have a stable job. If they don't have a stable job, they're not going to focus on it. And also, you don't know exactly what's supposed to be outsourced, and you don't know if there's enough meat on the task for it to be consistently outsourced. So you must build the effective procedure first, then go build the job description. And building the effective procedures actually helps you build the job description because you know exactly what types of tasks are going to be done. And you can also say in the job description, we have exact instructions for you to be trained and onboarded. People looking for these remote jobs and looking for part-time work don't want to just jump into a new role, freelance contract role, where they don't know what is going on and the person who hired them is not telling them anything, because they will not be successful and they won't be able to get the desired results for the business owner. Now we're building the job description, looking for the talent. I always like to do private or referral sourcing. Most of my executive assistants and global talent have been referred to me by someone who's worked with me or worked for me in the past. This is the best way to source talent. After that, you could use online platforms. I don't source from Fiverr or Upwork or those similar platforms, but it doesn't mean that they're not bad. They just have their pros and cons. And I have a couple other separate videos where I talk about the pros and cons of these online platforms. At this point, let's say I find some talent. I'm going to conduct screening interviews. So schedule 15-minute interviews. This is less about the job and more about the candidate. You're trying to figure out, what are these English skills if you're hiring internationally? What are some of these technical skills? Can you ask them certain questions that would generate red flags? So talking about like why they left their last job, gaps in resumes. This is something that can expand into a longer form interview. I like to start at 15 minutes and expand if they pass the first 15 minutes. So let's say their English level is not good. For some reason, they kind of pop up a couple red flags. I just keep a screening interview very, very short. If it's solid, I can expand it and expand this job interview into something more substantial and do the full interview. Now, when assessing English proficiency, a lot of people will say they're B2, they're C1, they're C2, they'll have these different rankings. The best thing for you to do is just have them do a test task or speak with them. You're able to actually judge their English level by speaking with them. Whatever they put on a resume, it doesn't really make sense. I've had people who are B2, but really they're just not super confident and their English is flawless. I have people who say they're C2, they're very high level of English, and that's not actually the case. They just put that on the resume because it sounds good. So you need to be able to speak to them. You need to give them some sort of test task so you can weed out the people who don't have that English proficiency. After we're done finding the talent and building that job description, we're going to go on to the onboarding. Now, during the onboarding process, what we want to do is we want to brief the talent on the standard operating procedures, the processes that we built. So before they walk in day one, they already kind of know what they should be doing. They already have the background, the instructions. They're 50% of the way there. They just needed to get inside of your business and start doing those tasks. But we need to set up the communication channels. So I like to use Slack. You can use whatever works for your agency or your business. But you want to centralize all communication in one area. You don't want them contacting you on text, phone, video chat, anything along those lines. You just want it in one solid area. Time tracking, I already kind of mentioned this. I use something called Clockify. I like doing the time reporting on different tasks. I can see everything visually in different reports at the end of the month in any type of time period I select. Super awesome, pretty cheap tool. I think it's like $8-10 a month, something like that, depending on the plan you get. I recommend all my clients utilize it. And then continued training. So after you onboard someone into your company, you want to continually train them and give them more tasks to do, slowly ramping them up over time. So in the beginning, dedicate 2 to 3 different times you meet with them each week to make sure that they're hitting the KPIs, they know what they're doing, and they can give you any feedback in your processes. So you know if you're now continued training. So in the first couple of weeks, meet with them 2 to 3 times a week just to make sure they're doing everything correctly. And if they have any feedback, they can give you feedback on your processes. This will help you as you onboard more people because you'll be able to have a better refined process that will allow them to ramp up in a quicker fashion than the very first person you hire. So overall, I hope this video helps you avoid the biggest mistake in hiring that I see and gives you a little bit of a framework so you can hire your own global talent. If you need help finding, interviewing, vetting talent, and then also building these procedures, just click the first link in the description. My team will be able to help you out with this whole process because we hire globally. We have done this for 20+ clients. Thank you.